Hey, welcome back nerds, Fino here with a commentated playthrough for the Tota exhibition quest. This one, I think, has some pretty lenient requirements. All you really need is a Lancer with some form of mitigation, like hard mitigation, evades, and loans. And to that end, I decided to go with the worst Lancer in Fake Rant Order, our old friend Diarmuid. Yeah, a solid candidate for worst servant in the game, by the way. He has a very clunky lore kit, real tragic. That said though, you don't necessarily need a good kit to defeat Tota, because Tota gives you all the buffs you need. Although they start as debuffs. Also, nice fucking Saber Gil hand there. Gonna admire that for a second. But yeah, essentially when Tota attacks you with his Buster cards, he puts a debuff, and which kind of debuff it is rotates depending on the turn. You know, like as you can see, this turn it was a quick seal, in a previous turn it was a Buster seal. What you do is you can get rid of those by attacking with your face cards. And if you do that, you get a different buff corresponding to which seal you removed. I believe you can also time them out, although I think Tota gains buffs when you do that. I'd have to double check that. I'll put in a correction if that's not the case. But yeah, that said, all you really do is slug it out with Tota for a while and accumulate debuffs. There's a little more to it than that, but that's like the core of the fight. And what you're essentially doing is you're trying to stack buffs and retaliate with a big damage turn, and keeping an eye on his NP bar. As an archer, he only has 3 ticks, which can be quite annoying. To deal with that, I decided to run Diarmuid, who has a evasion, and the Atlas Mystic Code, which has 2 benefits. One is that it has an invuln, and the other is that it has cooldown reduction. And even with that, I actually had to level my Diarmuid skill, yeah. Terrifying, isn't it? He started as 444, and unfortunately my runs were getting a little too tight to actually win with, so I decided to give him an extra turn off by leveling it to 6. You can get another turn off by going to level 10, but fuck that, I'm not doing that for Diarmuid. But yeah, one thing you may have noticed is that when you get attacked with those Buster cards, you actually gain max health. Temporary max health, but it's max health, and it can actually make the fights flow a little weird. The thing is that when you remove your debuffs, you actually lose that additional max health. And there is another mechanic going on, which every turn your basic max health is actually being reduced. And that's not a huge problem for Phase 1, but if you take too long to win the fight, it can make it very difficult to actually seal the deal. In Phase 2, it's a much bigger deal, because Tota's damage actually rises a fair bit. In Phase 1, though, you can just slug it out with him. Honestly, it's not a big deal. One thing you do have to watch out for is that one of the buffs you can get, which looks like one of those special buffs, what happens is that it only applies for 1 card. It's a huge buff, it only applies for 1 card. The NP buffs you can actually sit on for a while, because they only trigger when your NP goes, and their base duration is quite a while. And the attack buffs last for a few attacks, so again, those you should just use as you get them. Alright, now we're in Phase 2. Tota's damage goes up a fair bit in this phase. Apparently he also gets, like, resistant to attack debuffs, but again, not a problem for Diarmuid. What Diarmuid does do is he purges buffs on his NP, which is pretty handy. It actually removes the, well, removable buffs that Tota has. So if he's accumulating any of his personal, like, Buster buffs or attack buffs, it'll buy you some extra time. Unfortunately, Diarmuid doesn't really have a good answer to protection from arrows, which Tota does have. Really inconvenient, because his NP actually purges after hitting. And so if you pop your NP with all its buffs on that, it'll just be wasted. Real shame. So you'll need a little bit of luck on that. But as you can see, Diarmuid's max health is actually getting quite low when he doesn't have, well, you know, some Buster love, I guess. And at any point you can get popped here. This is where Grudge Match comes in. I'm sorry, not Grudge Match, fucking A. This year's Damage CE. I think it's Jeweled Princess, something like that. And yeah, much like Grudge Match, it does revive you with 1 health when you die. And not only will that buy you an extra turn, but it'll also trigger one of this fight's special mechanics, which is that when you're at super low health, it'll remove all of the debuffs on you. It won't give you their corresponding buffs, but it will free up your card pool. And it'll also fill up your NP gauge to 300%. Essentially, this gives you at least one extra turn to finish the fight. So even if you get hit with like multiple different card type seals, you can actually recover from that position. Here, though, I don't have too many options. I'm debating whether it's worth... Well, actually, I really only have one option. I can't chain error, so I have to use his NP. Otherwise, those special buffs would be wasted. What this does do is it gets Tota to sub 1 million health, which is actually a pretty good place to be in. Again, like if you use chain errors and stuff like that, you can actually deal like his entire second health bar in like 1 NP. But failing that, this strategy works too. You know, it's gotta brawl him to some more buffs. And again, because I have those attack buffs, I'm actually putting a significant dent in him with Brave Chains. My health, very low, but thankfully, it should be within range to finish off Tota. The flow of this fight, again, can be pretty weird. A little stressful, but again, like, as long as you have an understanding of the damage you can burst to, and you don't get crit too many times, you should be able to win. And yes, even the shittiest Lancer in the game, Diarmuid, can get it done. And yeah, this fight will be over in a second. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary sort of deal. Apologies if I'm a little scatterbrained. I've been up for a while. But yeah, that said, like if you like this video, subscribe for more, and stay tuned for more Gilfest coverage. I'll be trying to do this for the other exhibition quests, although I can't promise it'll be terribly helpful for stuff like the Romulus quest. I'll try, I'll do some experimentation. But, gonna be real with you, that fight, which is a part of the set for this year, never finished it. So, I'm looking forward to changing that. Anyway, see you next time.